because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. 8.6 beer. Intense by nature. And Locage. If the last time you went to Locage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to Locage. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. If they keep on winning these games, the Canadiens do, the way they surprised the Toronto Maple Leafs in game number 1, a game that was played at the Bell Center, and then they went on the road, and they lost on, what was it? Now I'm trying to remember which night it was, but anyway, I get confused. They lost on Friday night in Detroit, and then they lost on Saturday night in Washington. Well, the Canadiens were able to bounce back as tonight, Monday, they took on the Pittsburgh Penguins at home. And earlier this morning, we found out that Jake Allen was not going to play because his wife was expecting birth and was about to give birth. And so he was away, obviously, to share the moment. And we wish the Allens all the best. And when we heard that happen, well, Samuel Montembeault gets to start. And with all due respect to Samuel Montembeault, we thought it was going to be a challenge to host the Pittsburgh Penguins and Sid the Kid. I think the stats were, what was it? I think it was the Penguins were 10-3-1 or 11-3-1 in the last 14 or 15 times they played the Montreal Canadiens. So they do well versus the Canadiens. And they actually started well because they got out to a 2-0 lead. It's the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro. We are live on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. If you're watching, it's because you probably are. But tell your friends about it because the more we are, the bigger the army we are, the more noise we're going to make. And that's obviously something that we intend to do. You can watch us live right now on Twitter at the Sick Podcast and live on our Facebook group page at the Sick Podcast as well. The show is brought to you in part by several proud sponsors, and we'll start with, if you're in transportation sales, customer service, operations, HR, or admin, well, the good news is Energy Transportation Group is hiring for all positions. I know several people that work there, and the people that I know that work there, they've worked there for a very long time. That's a very good sign. When you work at a place for a very long time, it's because you like your job. And they, you know what? They like to have fun there, but at the same time, when it's business, it's business. I love those guys, Mike Cinquino and Sean Gerard. And a lot of you love the Montreal Canadiens. Cole Caulfield was flying in period number 1. I'm talking flying. The Canadiens outshot the Penguins 11-6 in period number 1. It was Pittsburgh 15, Montreal 13 in period number 2, and Montreal 11-6 in period number 3. And then it goes to overtime, and the Canadiens outshot the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-1 in overtime, 39-28 overall. The Canadiens win by a score of 3-2 in overtime. Let's start with Jeff Petrie, because it was his return to Montreal. He was booed every time he touched the puck, but at one point they showed a little video tribute, and he was applauded because the Montreal fans are, they know when to be classy. And you're not going to boo after a video tribute. But, Petrie, I can understand if your family's not happy and you don't want to see your family unhappy and you want to move on. I can understand that. But, and I said this before, I said this about 3 weeks ago or so, Kent Hughes didn't have to trade you. He could have told you he didn't find the taker, yada, yada, yada. You stay here. You're not happy. It is what it is now. I think it's the right thing to do to trade a player that's unhappy. It happens a lot more in soccer than it does in hockey. But anyway, long story short, he does you a favor, and you should be talking good about the Montreal Canadiens. And then he goes to Pittsburgh and he starts telling members of the media that the second he walked into the locker room, you can sense that this team was not just happy to make the playoffs and they want to go all the way and all that stuff. I thought it was unnecessary. Even if it's true, some things are better off unsaid. Don't say it. Then again, I'm someone that, I speak my mind. If I have something I want to say, I say it. But I thought the Canadiens did him a favor. And I don't think he should have said that. But anyway, I don't know if it was karma, but tonight he picked up 3 penalties and he picked one up in overtime. And the Canadiens go to the power play in overtime. And Monahan found Kirby Dach. But before we get to that, I'll tell you that everyone thought that the Pittsburgh Penguins took the lead in period number 1. Heinen took a shot that appeared to go under the bar and out, or hit off the bar and then in the net and out. But they went to the replay, went to look at it, and I've never seen a shot like that stay out before. It's kind of crazy. I'll try and describe it, but it looked like, a quick release, hit the crossbar, came across the line, slightly touched the post and came out. It was crazy. And so everyone thought it was a goal, but obviously after watching the replay, it was not. It was a scoreless first period. They go to period number 2, 3:52 into period number 2. It's Christian Dvorak with a giveaway, and it's Rust to Pettersson, and he goes to Malkin, whose one-timer is a knuckleball, and the Pittsburgh Penguins go up by a score of 1-0. But what was it? Just over 4 minutes after that, it was Malkin who wins a faceoff versus Suzuki. And Suzuki usually is really good in his own zone and really good in picking up, assignments and stuff like that. Malkin spins, turns, and he ends up going to the net. Suzuki follows, but he's not as close as he should be. He's not tying him up as much as he should be. And Malkin is able to pounce on a rebound. They go up by a score of 2-0. And Evgeny Malkin is a Montreal Canadiens killer. He had both goals. They're up by a score of 2-0 after 2. They go to period number 3, and the Canadiens strike early, 1:10 into period number 3. Hoffman to Gouli. He finds Suzuki, who takes a shot. The rebound comes out, a wraparound for Suzuki, and he's able to jam it home. And that narrows the Pittsburgh lead to 2-1. 17:40 now, 2:20 left in regulation. Gouli to Jonathan Drouin, and Jonathan Drouin, a beautiful pass. Drouin from the right-hand boards, a beautiful pass to Caulfield, who's on the left side. And Caulfield, of course, is, he's got a quick shot and a real quick release. And he's able to, a right-handed shot, and he's able to put it by Casey DeSmith. He ties the game at 2. And once again, they go to overtime, and Jeff Petrie picks up a penalty at the wrong time. And Kirby Dach scores a game-winning goal on a beautiful, beautiful feed from Sean Monahan. Without further ado, let's take a look at the lines, and we'll start with the Penguins lines if we can. The Canadiens' opponent had Crosby in between Raquel and Gensel, Malkin with Rust on his right and Zucker on his left, Carter with Kapanen on his right and Heinen on his left, Paling on the fourth line with Archibald and McGinn. Ryan Paling did tonight what he did when he was a Montreal Canadian, with the exception of pretty much one game. He did nothing. Dumoulin, Letang, Pettersson, Petrie, Joseph, and Ruta, and Casey DeSmith in goal. For the Montreal Canadiens, the lineup: Suzuki with Monahan on his right and Caulfield on his left. And I have to tell you, of all the players that they played on that line, on that duo to complete Suzuki and Caulfield, I like Monahan tonight. That line had a little bit more jump than those two have had with any other teammate up until this point, 4 games in. Dvorak with Gallagher and Dadonov. Gallagher had a real good opportunity in period number 1. So did Dadonov, who tried a spinorama on Letang. Dach in between Anderson and Drouin. Evans with Hoffman and Slavkovsky. If you're wondering how Slavkovsky did, he got involved. He made a couple of plays, but 9:52, and he still kept off the score sheet. And you wonder just in the end what's going to be best for his development. Is it going to be giving him close to 10 minutes per game on a fourth line with less pressure on him, or putting him on one of the top two lines in Laval and trying to see him produce. On D, Goulet, Savard, Harris, Kovacevic, Xhekaj, and Weidman with Montembeault in goal. And once again, the story of this hockey game, there's many of them, but you'd have to think, even though he was not the first star, because Kirby Dach was the first star, Caden Goulet, who was the second star for me, was the story of this hockey game again. 24 minutes and 43 seconds, 2 assists. He's a +1 in a game that had Morgan Rielly in game number 1 versus Toronto versus the Leafs. Caden Goulet was the best defenseman on the ice. In a game that had Christopher Letang for Pittsburgh, Caden Goulet again was the best defenseman on the ice. I thought he was absolutely unbelievable. And I really, really liked Jordan Harris again. Harris as well has put up a couple of games where he's been really, really good. Sliding, intercepting, blocking shots, breaking up plays, 4 shots on goal, joining the rush. 20 minutes and 45 seconds for Harris. I thought Goulet was the Canadiens' best defenseman. I thought he was the game's best defenseman. I thought Harris came in right behind them. And, pretty much everyone played well on the fence, to tell you the truth. They were much better than they have been in the last couple of games. They were good. They were on. The Canadiens win. And even if they would have lost, folks, I love the pace of the game. It was one of the best scoreless first periods I've seen in a while. There was pace. There was trading of chances. There was passion. There was energy. There was jump in the game. You could feel the energy. Really, really liked it. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by 8.6 Beer. Intense, like the Canadiens were tonight. By Nature, the beer for those who follow their instinct and live their passions in order to make their mark. And also brought to you by La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you go back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you. I was there last night at La Cage La Salle as I was watching CF Montreal's playoff game versus Orlando City. Speaking of which, we now know CF Montreal's opponent, as New York City FC was victorious by a score of 3-0 versus Inter Miami. So the defending champs, New York City FC, a formidable opponent, will visit CF Montreal on Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. at Stade Saputo. The organization let members of the media know earlier this evening, I was one of those who received a text message, that the tickets that went on sale today at noon are pretty much all sold out. I mean, when I received the text message probably, 4 hours ago or so, or whatever it was, there was just a handful of tickets left. As a matter of fact, I'm even lucky that I got my spot in the press box. That's how many people are going to be at the game. So it'll be another sellout of 19,619, I believe is the number. It's going to be absolutely awesome. You know what else is going to be awesome? I have a feeling you're going to be excited to talk to me tonight at 1-888-585-SICK. That's 1-888-585-7425. And we will get to your phone calls. We'll also get to your messages, any questions that you send in via YouTube, via Twitter, via Facebook. I will try and tackle and I will try and answer them right here on the Sick Podcast. So without further ado, Agnello and Sammy, what's going on? Are you there?
How you doing, Tony?
Oh, very good. Yeah, when you talk, it's good to take yourself
You're back. Okay, I lost you there for a bit.
You lost me for a second, eh? So it's got to be something that when you come on, I go away. Is that it?
I got a funny feeling that your computer shoots back on Wi-Fi for some reason.
My computer is not on Wi-Fi. It's on hardwired.
Oh, it's on hardwire? Okay.
I can guarantee you that. I can even take a picture of it and send it to you if you want.
No, I believe you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Canadians played better than your laptop and hookup, whatever it is.
Listen to me. If we're going to do this, all right, I understand you're the owner of the podcast and you're making big money. I get it, okay?
Yep.
But even owners of companies who do really well, they like to be in the spotlight every now and then, right?
I don't.
So if I'm going to put you on, you got to be able to match my intensity, my passion, my energy. I want to feel the energy. You know what I mean?
Yes,
This
sir.
is one team, one dream. Let's go here.
Let's go, man. We're
All
ready.
kidding aside,
We're ready. Let's go.
all kidding aside, if the Canadians play like that every game and they lose by 3 goals a game, I'm happy. I enjoyed that game tonight. I enjoyed that game versus Toronto. The 2 games they played at home, on the road, they were not very good.
I was just telling Sammy, they're so fun to watch. I think it's going to be an amazing season. I really do. They're fun to watch.
Amazing in terms of entertainment, not amazing in terms of results, right?
Entertainment. They're fun.
But so
to
far,
watch.
for me, it's a nightmare so far.
Yeah, I agree.
2 wins, 2 losses in 4 games. They're battling 5. They're 500. I need them to be even less than that. You know what I mean? I want Connor Bedard. You think they're exciting now? Imagine they get Connor Bedard. You think they're exciting now? Imagine they get Michkov. You think they're exciting now? Imagine they get Fantilli.
When Caulfield scored the tying goal there, you saw Marty St. Louis behind the bench going crazy. I don't think these guys are there to lose, man. I really don't.
Of course, they're not there to lose, but
Not there to lose, man. They want to win.
I understand that, but they want to win the cup. Like if they're going to finish 12th and miss the playoffs, like are we more advanced here? If you're going to miss the playoffs, you might as well be terrible.
I agree.
But be exciting.
I agree. They might surprise to make the playoffs. Let's hope.
But they might. Anything can happen in life.
I agree.
If you would have told me 3 years ago that you and I would be working together and we'd be calling each other 50 times a day to talk about this show and what we're going to do, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So you know what? Anything's possible.
Okay, we have a caller for you. You want to take it?
Of course I want to take it. I'm a man of the people. I'm going to get to all the callers.
Okay. See you soon.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the calls. It's now time for You Called.
You called. Presented by Playground.
You Called, presented by Playground. All right, okay. Who are we going to here? We are going to... I told him to type it up and put it on the screen. You understand? I guess he didn't. Hello, who's this?
Hi, this is Alan from Chicago.
Yes, who's this?
Hi. Alan from Chicago.
Hello, who's this? All right, we're going to have to get rid of this line. Clearly, this is not working out here. I hate to start off the show like that when I get to a call and no one's answering. And now I'm hearing stuff in the other room now, and I think the mouse is back. Now I'm starting to get all kinds of anxiety here. Do we have another call in yellow? He says to me, he says, we have a call that you can get to. No problem. I get to the call, there's nobody there. Bring up some messages if I'm not going to get to any calls in yellow. Here we go. 1-888-585-7425 is the number. 1-888-585-SICK. Calls are toll free. Tony, what do you think of Drouin? I think that Drouin, every game that he plays for the Canadians, has to do something to generate offense. A goal, run a power play, a big assist. Tonight it was a big assist. Drouin contributed to the Canadians' win tonight. He really did. Hello, who's in the other room? It's you. You want to? Can you please come here for a second? No, you're going to have to because you already interrupted the show. So you have to come here now. Come here, please. No, and she's waiting. She's ruining my show by not coming. Hello? Angie, please come here. Oh, she's in the blanket. All right. Okay. So I was hearing all kinds of noise from the other room, right? I told my wife, I said, I need to put a door in the basement where I'm doing this show, right? So I the outside noises and the other noises from the other room and stuff, I don't hear them. She says, we don't need a door. I said, we need a door because I never win any discussion in this house whatsoever. There is no door. Perfect. No door. So right now, I heard all this noise coming from the other room. So now I told her, you have to come here and say hello to the audience. She says, I can't, sweetie. I said, no. Now you distracted me. You have to come here. She said, I can't. I'm in the blanket. Do you know what blanket she's in? She's in some kind of infrared blanket or something that helps her detox, right? She says it works. She's lost 60 pounds in the last 6 months. I guess she's right. And yes, to answer your question, I should be following my wife. But she's got more discipline than me. What can I tell you? Alex from Chicago. Alex, are you there? Alex?
Hey, Tony.
Yeah, how you doing? You have one of these blankets at home too, to infrared blanket to detox and stuff. She wears my Sick Podcast jogging pants, my Sick Podcast hoodies. She overdresses, and then she's drenched by the time it's over. 30 minutes, she's drenched. Alex, what's on your mind? It seems like you don't have one of these blankets. What's going on, Alex?
No, I don't. No, I can't attest to that. I don't have any of those.
You don't have any of those, no.
First of all, I just want to start off. Love the podcast. That's
Thank you.
Something I always put on while I'm doing my my homework and stuff. So I appreciate it.
Oh, really? So what are you studying in Chicago?
Yeah, so I'm doing writing. So I want to go into like video game development and like writing stories for big time video games.
Oh, video game development. You know what? I like the future in that business. That's really smart. That's good.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate it. Anyway,
video game development. That's what I suggested my boys go into that, by the way. That's what I suggested. I said, I think you should study something about video games because I like the future of that. But anyway, good. Alex, are you a Canadiens fan living in Chicago then?
I am. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, I'm a big Blackhawks fan too, but outside of, that, I have to say my allegiance has to go to the Canadiens.
Yeah. Don't cheer for the Blackhawks. They only won 3 cups in the last 15 years. Forget about them.
Yeah, I studied French for this freaking team. I don't know what it is about it, but Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about Arbor Jack guy. So I was watching the game just while I was doing my work and stuff, and I got to say his presence out there is a lot more surprising than I was anticipating. Like, you saw like from the preseason stuff, how everybody's hyping up the fights and Goon, but he's out there making plays. What are your thoughts on him outside of the whole fighting aspect?
Yeah, well, outside of the whole physicality that he brings to the game, I think that if he goes up against top-line players, he's going to get exposed. But if you insulate him and you protect him and you put him out there on a third pairing, you put him out there against the third or fourth line, he's not going to look out of place. He will look like an NHLer at that point. He's got an X factor, man. He brings something to the game that's a lot of defensemen on the Canadiens don't have. And, you can tell that this guy is appreciated from his teammates. Alex, all the best in your studies. And I'm honored that you're listening in or viewing in from Chicago. Thank you. Speaking of which, we're going to Calgary next. I told Daniello when he approached me 2 years ago, I made him a promise. I said, we're going to have people from all over the country that are going to watch this podcast, from all over North America that are going to watch this podcast, and from all over the world. So right now we got one in Chicago, we got one in Calgary, so we're going pretty strong in North America. John in Calgary.
How's it going, Tony?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing well. There's a lot to I'm seeing a lot of impressive stuff here with this team.
Tell me.
I'm really enjoying I'm enjoying the younger kids. I really like the way Harris plays. I know we talk a lot about Gooley, but I think Harris is going to be a solid D-man coming up.
Oh, I like Harris a lot.
Yeah, he moves the puck well. He's very sound in his own end. And, you could see that they gave him a chance there on the power play. I think he's going to come around, and I think he's going to start putting up some points. The other guy I really like is, and he's not a young guy, but I like Monahan. I think this trade's going to work out really well. I can see them, if he keeps playing as well as he does, there's a potential to flip him at the deadline for another first-round pick. Or they could even re-sign him.
John, for the first time in a long time, he's healthy. He's 28 years old. This guy's not 35. If they're ready to turn the corner, we're talking about a former first-round pick here. I think he was drafted 6th. I don't have it in front of me, but I think that's what I remember. But anyway, long story short, if this guy can start putting up some points, this guy scored over 30 goals 3 times. I mean, if he would want in on a respectable salary, you know what? I think I'm in, even though I want to rebuild.
Well, I agree with you. If it's a respectable salary, he's not asking for 5, 6 or something like that. Because he's a great in the face-off dot. He's got great hands. He sees the ice really well. He's sound in his own end. I don't have a problem re-signing that a decent salary, but if the salary isn't there, you could flip him and get a pretty good pick, right?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. Thanks so much for the. Thanks so much. You tell me, yeah.
I was just saying. I think right now, one of the things I like them to work on is I think they need to find a number 1 in the waiting, like a young kid goalie, or at least get some development there, because I'm not sold on Primo. So that's where I'm going with that.
They got some kids in the system, but let's give Caden Primo a chance. Last year in the playoffs, when it counted at the American Hockey League level, he was at his best. Thanks so much. We're going to continue to get to your calls at 1-888-585-7425. It's a toll-free number, and I'm going to take them till at least 11 o'clock. I left a lot of them, 215 of them, on hold after game number 1 versus Toronto. To be completely transparent with you, it's not something I wanted to do, but if I would have taken all 215, I think I would have been on until like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. the next morning. There's some messages coming in. Nick says he is listening in Vancouver. Voodoo says he is listening in St. Dorothy. Tim says he's watching from Alberta. And hey, Tony, what are your thoughts on comparison for Gouli to a young Duncan Keith? That's quite the comparison, because Duncan Keith, I believe, went on to win a Norris. So that would be something. We got a first-rounder back. They did get a first-rounder back for Sean Monahan, and the Canadiens might be able to get a first-rounder if they try to trade him. Others coming in. Monahan is finally healthy. Slav is picking up his physical game if he becomes more physical. Tony, drop your phone when people talk to you. Show some professionalism. All right. So, to tell you the truth, the reason why I have the phone in my hand is not because I'm looking at my messages that my buddies are sending me, or I'm trying to figure out where I'm going for lunch tomorrow. It's because I'm actually reading your messages that are coming off of YouTube. You understand? That's why I got the phone in my hand. Maybe we can get a big Sony monitor here or something, smart TV, and we can put it on YouTube on the television, and then with a remote control or whatever it is, I can scroll up and down. I don't know how I can do that, even if I can do that, but I'm reading your YouTube messages off my phone. All right? Okay, so I appreciate the feedback. Really, I do. 20 years later, I don't think I need lessons on professionalism. Thank you. All right, okay. Let's go to Dan from Rhode Island. Dan. Hello, Dan.
Tony, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. I've been trying to call into you for about 2 years from here in Rhode Island. I listen to you every day.
Oh, really?
When you're on your last gig, and I'm a big Habs fan here, so I really love your show.
Call again. I gotta go. I'm kidding. My favorite Ted Teven used to do that. I remember when I used to be listening to him, the late great Ted Teven. Someone called in and said, "Ted, I can't believe I got through. I've been trying for 3.5 years." And he said, "Try again," and he gave the number. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
That is funny. I just wanted to say that I'm having a great time watching the Habs so far this year, and I just think, looking at the draft picks coming up and that they've gotten through the system, I think we're going to have a defensive juggernaut in a few years, and I think the team is going to be based off of that. So I'm really not worried too much about the scoring right now, but I think the defense is going to be wonderful.
You know what? I think the defense is going to be wonderful. It's going to take time to take shape. Could you imagine? We haven't even talked about Logan Mailloux yet. We haven't even talked about Jaden Struble, who's at Northeastern, who used to be a defense partner for Jordan Harris. So Struble and Harris can be reunited. And Logan Mailloux is 6'5", 220 pounds. and he shoots the puck probably harder than anyone in the National Hockey League. Thanks so much for calling,
true.
Dan. Yes, you were saying, Dan?
And that's true. And Jaden Struble actually is from Cumberland, Rhode Island, right here, and my hometown, actually.
That is correct, yeah.
And just a great player. I'm very excited to go see him very shortly in February. I've got some tickets to see Northeastern's coming to play PC, so I'm very, very excited to see him play. And last year, we got to see his line mate last year play as well. So yeah, just great stuff. We're very excited for the defense down here. Lots of Habs fans, and we love your show. And
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hello to Rhode Island. I love you, Rhode Island. Thank you. Says Josh Gerber, Caulfield 30+ this season. Well, it looks that way. Why not? Others coming in. Give the 6 show a thumbs up. This coming in from Dan Desjardins. Thank you, Dan. Master Hawk says, you tell him, Tony. Well, I'll try. Emmerich says, what a game. It was pretty cool. Evan Moskovich says, this is sick stuff. Thank you. Rob King says, funny guy. I try to be. Some say I'm actually funny looking. Back in the day, I was good looking. But now, what do you want to do? As they say in Italian, vecchiaia brutta. Old age is not fun. Farron says, Slav had a better 10 minutes tonight than the previous game. He did. Still not sure if that's good enough for his confidence. John Muscatel says, I love your show, Tony. Thank you very much, John. I appreciate it. Others coming in. Hey, Tony, I live in LaSalle too, and I want to take you out to lunch. This coming in from Aaron Jolie. Aaron, as you can see, I'm not one who refuses lunch all that often. So you're on. You get a hold of me, and I'll gladly go to lunch with you. It'll be my pleasure. Schedule's pretty open. Others coming in, what are your thoughts on Slavkovsky? Maybe a good idea to see him play for only 10 minutes and no pressure to slowly move him up. I think that's their plan. I'm a little bit torn on it, and I'd love to get your reaction. Tell me what you're thinking at 1-888-585-7425. Because although I understand the logic of having Slavkovsky on a 4th line, I don't know if it's going to be a great idea if he's there for 5 or 6 games in a row where he could be playing those 5 or 6 games, maybe on a 2nd line in Laval. Others coming in. Jeff Petrie sold the bag. No, I just think that Jeff Petrie played like the Jeff Petrie that played the first half of the season last year, or the first 3 quarters of the season. Nick says Gooley is already our best defenseman. 2 apples tonight. He's a young, mobile Shea Weber. He's unbelievable. 4 games doesn't make a season. But if Caden Gooley is able to play like this for the rest of the season, he's going to be in discussion for the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. There's no doubt about it. Lalakimo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Tony, tu es professionnel. Merci beaucoup. J'apprécie. Et si nos auditeurs francophones veulent m'appeler, ou tu peux le faire, au 1-888-585-7425. Je vais prendre ton appel avec plaisir. Morris Bilo says, watching from St. John's, Newfoundland. Hello, St. John's, Newfoundland. People from Newfoundland are good people. I was with them a couple of weeks ago in Vancouver, and good people. Double shift your best players, says Danny. That's a line from Peter from Côte St. Luc, who has not yet made his Sick Podcast debut. I have a feeling it's coming. Maybe not tonight, though. Is Gooley our 3rd most valuable player going forward now? Only Suzuki and Caulfield are more important than him in my mind. Up until this point, yes, you're right. Tony Gallagher has had a great start, but he's had 6 or 7 good chances. It seems he just shovels the puck towards the net instead of a quality shot. Look, I believe he lost a little bit of that mustard off of that shot after 2 broken hands. Don't forget about Lane Hudson. He's a real nice prospect. You're right about that. Rhode Island sent Tony some clams. That would be nice. Mayu has been practicing to the team until it was agreed either way. He'd play 1 more year for London at 19 years old, but he was fitting in perfect with the present team. Others coming in. Félix Duchesne. Tony, t'es mon préféré. Merci beaucoup, Félix. J'apprécie les... is it les bonbons? Les bonbons? Les bonbons, I think. I got a problem with my feminine. J'ai un problème avec mon féminin puis mon masculin. Puis Jean Arrache, là. I struggle on that. Tony, sign or trade Monahan. I think right now it's too early to say. All options are open. We have to see where the Canadians are in the standings at the end of February and how far along they are in this rebuild and whether it's moving quickly or not. More calls. Daniel from Quebec.
Hello?
Comment ça va? How are you? Danielle, are you there? Yeah. I think you're listening to the podcast right now on YouTube, whether you're going to have to put the volume down a little bit.
Wait.
I got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Take your time. No problem, Danielle. I'll just sit here and drink water. It's all good.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I don't believe I'm on.
You don't believe you're on? Why don't you believe you're on?
Because it's so hard to get a hold of you.
Ah, thank you. That's a good sign, by the way. That means people are calling.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
Very good sign. 215 were on hold once again after game number 1.
You talked about Gooley, and I fell in love with him tonight because I didn't think he was that good.
You didn't think Gooley was that good?
No, I didn't. After tonight, I'm convinced.
Oh, okay. After tonight, you're convinced. Okay, I thought
Oh,
you.
yeah.
I thought you were saying you didn't think Gooley was that good tonight. Oh yeah, no. Tonight he was.
No. I was.
Hold on a second. Didn't you like him versus Toronto? Didn't you like him versus Toronto?
Pardon?
Didn't you like Gooley versus Toronto? I thought he was colossal.
No, I wasn't watching him. I was watching Caulfield and Suzuki.
I got it.
I wasn't
tonight,
watching the defense or nothing.
Yeah, but tonight you were watching him. Thank you, Danielle. You're right. He is really good. How good is Suzuki playing with the pressure of being our captain?
Oh,
he's playing great. This is coming in from Nick. He's playing great. Danielle, merci beaucoup. Let's go to, after going to Chicago and Calgary and Rhode Island and Quebec, we're now going to Hamilton. Rob from Hamilton on the Sick Podcast with Marinaro. What's going on, Rob? Rob, are you there? Yeah. Hang up once. Hang up twice. René Rivera, je t'écoute en anglais et français. Merci beaucoup. Others coming in, watching from Cornwall, Ontario. Have you been to Cornwall before? Love the show. Lots of Habs fans here. Thank you. Voodoo says, I love you, Tony. Thank you very much. René says, tu es vraiment super. Merci beaucoup. Dan says, thanks, Tony, for the shutout from Hamilton. Tiger Cats down. Thank you very much. When will we get Peter from Côte St. Luc on? Coming in from Mario Di Loretto. We will, Mario, at some point here. Tony, who would have guessed that we would have had 2 wins in 4 games? Not me. Watching from Quebec City, Jeff Chill. Love the show. Mario Perezzino. Tony, do you think Monty can play 40 games a year? He can play 40 games a year. It all depends what you want out of him, though. But can he take a workload of 40 games a year? Yes, he can. Good show as always. Good game tonight. This coming in from Pierre Denonville. All right. Says Bobby, leave Slavkovsky alone. Robert says, Tony, who do you got for the World Cup? Right now, my head tells me Brazil, but, obviously I'm cheering for Canada. But if one of the favorites, I wouldn't mind seeing England win. I wouldn't mind seeing England win because, losing is really tough. And it was really tough for them to lose to Italy the way they did in penalty shots. If England wins the World Cup, I'll be pretty happy. Toronto will win the cup. I don't think so. Others coming in. Are you going to have World Cup shows next month? This coming in from Alada. I imagine we will. Nick says, Tony, are you concerned about Gallagher? He's got more jump than a year ago, but I don't think he's going to produce all that much. So, he's on the back 9. That's what it is. And there's no one that's going to convince me otherwise. Première pour moi, Tony. Merci beaucoup. Ta réputation te précède. This coming in from David. Merci beaucoup, David. J'apprécie, David. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. 9 games, then Laval, says Angelo Zafiro regarding Slavkovsky. Merci, Tony, de respecter la langue française. Félicitations. Merci beaucoup. Hey, listen, if we're going to live in this province, I think the least we can do is try and learn the language. And you know what? C'est tellement une belle langue. It's such a beautiful language, I have to tell you. And I think the more languages you know, I think the better it is. You know what I mean? It's just life is so much more rewarding. I'm happy to say that I speak English, French, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese. Some will say that I don't speak either of them very well, but at least I speak a little bit. All right, coming in. I tried to call in multiple times. I couldn't get through. Tony ain't lying. This coming in from Tanner. Tanner, keep trying. This is a beautiful problem that we're having right now. Jeff says, Tony, t'es le meilleur. Merci beaucoup. Matthew says, on t'aime, Tony. You're the best. Merci beaucoup. Tony, ton show est super lâche. Pas fait 10 ans. Tente d'appeler, mais sérieusement, super ton show. Première fois, je vois un show bilingue. Il devrait avoir plus. This coming in from that French guy. So I got to tell you something. I'm a collaborator with Jean-Charles Lajoie. I'm sure you know that by now. On BPM Sport, 91.9 on your FM dial out of Montreal. And I'm a collaborator on his radio show Monday to Friday at around 8:05 a.m. And I'm a collaborator on his TV show, JC, on TVA Sport Monday to Thursday at around 5:30 p.m. I first met Jean-Charles Lajoie, I believe, 12 or 13 years ago. Actually, I believe it was in 2010, or I probably met him in 2009, so 12 or 13 years ago. We were working L'Attaque à 5 together, and every now and then we would be on the set together. And unfortunately, L'Attaque à 5 came to an end at one point. And I remember down the stretch there, I told Jean-Charles Lajoie, you and I, one day, we're going to work together. And you know what we're going to do? And he said, what? I said, we're going to do a bilingual show. And he looked at me because bilingual, it's kind of like against CRTC rules. You cannot do a bilingual show on radio or on television. But guess what? There are no rules when you do podcasting. And you can do a bilingual show on podcasting. And I think I just gave away one of the things that I want to do going forward. I'm already doing it, though. You understand? Like, I'm already doing it. For me, even though this is, for the most part, it's English, this is a bilingual show. I'm not going to refuse any call from anyone who calls in and is more comfortable in French. I'll speak to them in French, and then I'll translate. Jimmy says, Tony Gooley is going to win the Calder. Scott says, good chemistry, bring him on. Not so sure I know who you're talking about. Tony, our family loves watching your segment with GC. Best chemistry. This coming in for Nick. Nick, thank you very much. If I can say in all humility, I don't want to sound, I believe he and I have something spectacular going on right now in radio and in television. I'm really happy about it, and I never really had any doubts, to tell you the truth. Because he knows how to bring it, and I'm convinced that I know how to bring it. So when you have two people that know how to bring it and you put them together, what happens is they usually bring it. That's a pretty stupid law from the CRTC, says that French guy. I don't want to get into that. That's his actual name, by the way, in case you're wondering. Rules are made to be broken. Well, if you do it on radio, you're probably going to get fired. Tony, you're the GOAT. This coming in from Melanie Scarfo. Merci beaucoup. Others coming in. Lorenzo says, Leo from Cartierville. Missed that guy. Leo will be calling the program. I can tell you that right now. Others coming in. L'Attaque à 5 was awesome. This coming in from Rennie Rivera. You're right. Tony, you're a mixture of Fergie and Jesus. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Harris Stays coming in from Phil. No doubt he does. Louis Rene, fantastic show, Tony. Thank you. So I tried to get as many messages as I can. Joe from Ontario. What's the story? Like everyone from Ontario, Quebec, Rhode Island, Calgary, Chicago, Hamilton, they're all getting a line before someone in Montreal. It's okay. Joe.
Hey, Tony.
How are you?
Got one question for you.
Sure.
What do with Mike Hoffman?
Tell me.
I don't want to be negative Nelly here, but you look at him. He's not a fourth liner, and he was invisible. When you really need the experienced NHLers to come step up like that, and Mike Hoffman's on the fourth line with Slafkovsky, and he did nothing tonight. What are we going to do with him?
What are you going to do? Yeah, he's got a contract this year, and he's got a contract next year. And so the only thing that you got to hope is that you play him. He scores goals. You bring up his value, and someone will want him this year instead of. Look, at worst case scenario, Mike Hoffman is going to be dealt trade deadline day or before 2024. The week of trade deadline of 2024, trade deadline day, he'll be dealt. That's the worst case scenario. In an ideal world, he picks up points, he scores goals this year, he brings up his value, and you're able to trade him now. All right, I want to tackle something because once again, everyone knows me. I'm an open book, and, some people tell me I shouldn't always say everything the way it is because I should keep some stuff, for me and whatever. I'm not wired like that. Okay. I'm not wired like that. So, you have questions, you want to know the truth, I'm going to tell you. So I see the messages that are coming in, and many of you are asking me to bring on this guest or that guest or this guest or that guest. Some of the guests or collaborators that you've asked me to bring on work for a certain company. And when I reached out to some of those, they told me that they were told that they cannot come on my podcast. It's funny because in the past 2 weeks, that certain company asked me to go on their radio shows twice. And out of principle, I said no. If you're going to refuse your analysts to come on my podcast, when, by the way, they're allowed to go on other podcasts, but on mine, they have to say no. Well, if you're going to call me to go on your shows, I'm not going on. That's it. And that's it. And, it's the way it's going to be. And they can stop calling me and messaging me, by the way, because I'm not going to help them get their ratings up. They're going to have to try and figure that by themselves. All right, okay. And that's just me being me and respecting my audience and giving you the answers you want. So those guests that you're asking me to come on, they were told not to come on my show. All right? That's what they told me. All right, okay. Let's get to another call. Comment sick, by the way, if you're loving the show, or at least the honesty. SICK. It's my way of feeling the love. All right? Jeff.
Hello, Tony. How's it going, my friend?
I'm going good. And by the way,
yeah,
I stood up for myself. I'm true to myself, and I'm going to continue to stand up for myself. For me, now it's a matter of principle. Want to be like that with me? I'll be like that with you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Tony. I'm calling from Quebec City. I'm actually a neighbor to Patrick Roy.
You're a neighbor to Patrick Roy?
Not very far. I see him very often. He's very cool.
He's very cool with you or cold?
No, he's cool. He's a cool guy. He's cool with people who are fans of the game. He speaks with everybody. I go to the ramparts very often. And, I don't see him as the GM of the Canadiens. That's for sure. I never have. But coaching, we never know.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I always loved Patrick as a player and a goalie. How can you not? I mean, he was the catalyst of winning 2 Stanley Cups in '86 and in '93. Having said that, I think he's way too emotional to have occupied one of the most important positions in the Montreal Canadiens organization. And I know a lot of people wanted to see him hired. There were actually some people that actually even lobbied for him during some press conferences and stuff like that, brought up his name, wrote articles about him. I don't think it would have worked out with him and the Canadiens. Having said that, I think it's nice that they brought him back in the family. And I think it's nice if he would come around every now and then. I think it was pretty cool also last week, by the way, speaking of alumni, that Richard Zednik was in town because his daughter goes to school here. And he wanted to meet Juraj Slafkovsky, of course. And Zednik was telling members of the media that Slafkovsky is just absolutely huge in Slovakia. And he's the talk of Slovakia right now. And he was allowed into the locker room like alumni should be. And that was a pleasant change over, the way it all went down a couple of years ago.
Well, Patrick also brought 2 Stanley Cups to the Avalanche. He's such a winner. I mean, the guy he's passionate about the game. You can't take that away from him.
He's a winner as a goalie for sure. That you cannot take away from him. Would he win a Stanley Cup if he was a coach or a general manager here? Winning as a player does not guarantee that. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it. We go to Laval.
Grazie per il tuo lavoro.
Oh, grazie a te. Madonna mia, come parli bene l'italiano.
Buonasera, mi amigo.
Buonasera, amico mio. Wow, you see when it's making the effort. That's amazing. Jordan from Laval. Let's go to Jordan. Jordan, are you there? I think we don't have Jordan. Sometimes, you know what? When you do live stuff like this is going to happen. And it's kind of like out of my control. Let's move on. Let's get to more messages. Next year, we could see a Sean Farrell or a Red Pitlick add to the mix. We could see a totally different team. This coming in from Rems. Thank you, Rems. Others coming in. I wrote a letter to Patrick Waugh after the 94 playoffs when he played with appendicitis, and he wrote me back a handwritten note with an autographed picture. You cannot believe how happy I was. This coming in from Nicholas. Nicholas, someone very close to the Montreal Canadiens. I hate to tell you this because I'm probably going to ruin your night, but someone very close to the Montreal Canadiens told me back in the day that Patrick Waugh did not have appendicitis. I'm going to stop there. He was hurting, but it was not appendicitis that he had. That was told to me from someone very, very close to the situation. Needless to say, pretty cool. I think he made 60 saves versus the Boston Bruins. It was unbelievable. But I was told it was not appendicitis. I'm hearing Jordan is back. Jordan, are you there? Jordan, are you there?
Hey, Tony.
Hey, Jordan.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I've had better nights.
Why? What's wrong with you?
Well, look, my Leafs took an L, as usual.
You're a Jordan, the Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and they lost to the Arizona Coyotes. You know, there's worse in life. How about me going on the air this morning with Jean-Charles Lajoie and telling him that Toronto was going to cover the 1.5? I don't know why I did that, because my first instinct was to take the Rangers over Anaheim. Anyway, I didn't. You're always supposed to listen to your first instinct. Anyway, I got it wrong. What else? So why is a Leafs fan calling the Sick Podcast tonight, even though everyone is welcome? I'm curious what you're going to talk about, because I don't feel like talking about the Leafs tonight.
No, that's fine. I turned it off because the other day I had a chance to meet Caden Gooley. And I said, let me just check in on this Habs game, see what's going on. The kid had 2 assists. And then, of course, I got to see the overtime goal. I'm just, you know, where do you see Gooley moving forward on this team?
Where do I see Gooley moving forward on this team? He's the best defenseman on the team.
By far, right?
Well, right now, without Mike Matheson, he's the best defenseman on the team. When Mike Matheson comes back, I mean, Mike Matheson's been in the National Hockey League for 8 years. He skates like the wind, and he's got a lot of games under his belt. So you would think that he's going to be the number 1 defenseman on the team. But right now, in his absence, Caden Gooley's the number 1 defenseman on the team. And at worst case, the way this is all going to go down, he's going to end up being the number 3, because the only guys that can end up passing him right now are Edmondson and Matheson. And with all due respect to Edmondson, Caden Gooley, I think, moves the puck a lot better than Edmondson. So I think at worst case scenario, this guy's going to be a number 2. But right now, he's a number 1. Jordan, thank you for calling. Even though you're a Leafs fan, I thought that was kind of cool. All right, there you have it. Jordan, the Leafs fan. Back to some messages. Relax, 4 games in. Leafs will not fire Keefe. I don't think they're going to do that either. But at one point, it might get a little tight around the collar from. Gooley is already a candidate for a Calder Trophy if he keeps up this rhythm. This coming in from Patat Dus. Someone else wrote, I think something like, oh no, only 4 minutes left. I'm going to go a little bit more than 4 minutes tonight. I'm going to go a little overtime. And I'm not going to go back to Agnello and Sammy and ask me if they're going to pay me for overtime, knowing that they're not. All right? So I won't do that. Others. Now I'm getting inundated with messages as to what Carey Price had. I don't, even though I tell you everything, maybe that'll be for another show. I'll keep you hanging. I don't know. But I was told from someone close to the situation that he did not have appendicitis. And that person was very, very close to the situation. Jean-Marc from Ontario. Jean-Marc, comment ça va, Jean-Marc? How are you? Jean-Marc, are you there?
Yes, I am, Tony. Hi, how are you?
Very good. Thank you for asking me. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. I called you on your previous show, and I've been watching all the Sick podcasts. I've enjoyed your watching and listening to your guests, and I really, really enjoy your work.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So it's a pleasure for me to talk to you tonight. And one of the things you brought up today that I thought I'd like to call in and voice my opinion is your question about Slafkovsky being on the fourth line. And it sort of mirrors Lecavalier's career when he started out. And he wasn't just thrown in on the top six. He was put on the fourth line just to sort of, alleviate the pressure. And I know he's not getting a lot of minutes, but he seems to be each game looking a bit more comfortable in the time he is on the ice. And he seems to be doing a lot of good things. So I was just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, if I can, I remember Vinny Lecavalier the week of the draft. He mentioned Jacques Demers, and he said, the owner, he was asked about, the owner of the Tampa Bay Lightning, saying that Vinny Lecavalier was going to be the Michael Jordan of hockey. And he said, that was a lot of pressure when I heard that. But he said, I want to thank Jacques Demers, who put me on the third line, put me with two veterans, and told me that he was going to break me in slowly but surely, put me at ease, was very comfortable. And so I think that's part of the plan that they wanted for Slafkovsky when they had put him with Dvorak and Gallagher. Now he's not on a third line. Now he's on a fourth line. Listen.
Yeah.
Marty St. Louis, Vinny Lecavalier, Kent Hughes, Jeff Gordon, Adam Nicholas. These guys know how to bring along a young player and develop a young player a lot more than me. All right. So even though I think that I'm not so sure I want to see Slafkovsky on a fourth line for an extended period of time, I have confidence. I mean, I can still have my opinion that I'd rather see him on a second line in Laval than a fourth line in the National Hockey League. But I have confidence in this management group. I'm going to tell you, I might be naive here, and I might say something stupid that you can all screen record right now and play it back for me in 5 or 6 years or whatever it is. I think the management team of Gorton and Hughes are going to deliver a Stanley Cup to the city of Montreal. I believe that. I don't know. I have that in my head. I have a lot of confidence in them. I think they're going to be here for the long haul. Marc Bergevin was here for 9.5 years. If Bergevin was here for 9.5 years, it leads me to believe that they're going to be here for at least 9.5 years. And I think they're going to deliver a Stanley Cup. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I think it's going to take time, but I think they're going to be here for a long time, and I think they're going to deliver it.
Well, I just wanted to one last thing I want to say. First of all, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I really respect what they've done. It's fantastic. The one thing I believe Marty was questioned today, whether it was today or yesterday, regarding putting Slafkovsky on the fourth line. He says, I don't look at it as the fourth line. I look at it that we have four lines.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
He said it in such a way that, he's not trying to diminish anything. And I love that about Marty. And I'm just actually watching the game now because I had to tape it because I was out for dinner.
Yeah.
I'm just getting to watch it now, but I understand when Caulfield scored that Marty went a little crazy.
He was pretty excited about Cole Caulfield tying up the game. Thanks so much. All right. Okay. There's a message coming in. Tony, you have a mustard stain on your shirt. That is incorrect. I do not have a big mustard stain on my shirt, and I know that for a fact because this shirt was in the wash yesterday, and I don't remember when was the last time I ate mustard. So I know that's not true. All right, okay, but I don't know why someone would write that, but anyway, they did. All right, You Called is presented by Playground, and even though it's past 11 o'clock, I've been told that there are still some people on hold and a lot of messages to get to. You Call brought to you by Playground, your premier gaming destination located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. I'm going to try and get to some more of your calls and some more of your messages. Says Seb, Slav is learning slowly but surely. He will be a stud soon. I agree, Tony. They have a plan, and they are very transparent so far. This coming in from Mike Bolak. They will deliver, at the very least, a serious contender. This coming in from Mac Thibault. Tony, Stanley Cup in 2026-27 season. This coming in from Patrizio Giannetti. Tank from Bedard, says Danny Contino. Jack-Eye is not playing bad. They dumped the puck on his other side to not get hit by him. This coming in from Seb. Sam Rumiliotis says, Tony, you should stay on a little longer after Habs games. That's what I'm doing right now, Sam, pardon me. That's what I'm doing right now, Sam. Salut, Tony from Latuc. Salut. Mark is in Latuc. That's pretty cool. Kovacevic, not bad. This coming in from Fisherman. I like him. I like him. What's in the Costco bottle? This coming in from Phil. Phil, I don't have to give them a plug because they're not a sponsor, but in this water bottle, which I like because it's very big and it holds a lot of liquid, I can guarantee you that there is water. I don't know how I can prove that to you. Let me try this. Hold on a second. I'm going to end up dripping it all over me, but, that's the beauty of live stuff. Hold on. I don't know if you had a chance to see that. Maybe I just made a fool out of myself, but I can guarantee you there's water, a lot of it. Peter from Laval. Let's go to Peter. Hello, Peter. Peter, are you there?
Yes, I am.
How are you?
Good. How are you, Mr. Tony?
Very good. Please call me Tony.
Okay.
Yeah, even though I turned 50 on November 23rd.
Slavkovsky on the fourth line. I wish they would use him on a power play.
Yeah.
Or even on a penalty kill, just to see a little bit of his moves and what he can give. What do you think about that?
Well, I think they have kind of like a playbook for Slavkovsky. I don't know this for a fact, okay? I don't. I'm guessing here. But I think it's predetermined what they want to give him in terms of power play, penalty kill. I could be way wrong because if he has a great game, they'll give him power play. So maybe I'm wrong. But I think they want to see him walk before he will run. And I think we'll see him on the power play at some point. The penalty kill, I don't know. But I think we'll see him on the special teams at some point.
I agree with you. I totally there. But like we said, we want a tank. We want Connor Bedard. We want a top 3 pick. Why not let him play on a power play? On a penalty kill, let him show his stuff. He's going to make a mistake. We're all about that this year, right? So let's do it all the way.
It seems like the majority of the fan base doesn't want this rebuild. You saw the reaction from everyone in the building tonight when Kirby Dach scored the game-winning goal. You saw the reaction when Cole Caulfield tied up the game. The fans, people are, you're wired like that, right? You want to win. Message coming in, Tony, have you seen the mouse? I can tell you that I saw the mouse, when was it, about a week ago? And I haven't seen the mouse since. Hopefully, he's out of this house for good.
Okay, then if not, we'll get Bobby the Painter there.
By the way, Bobby the Painter. Bobby's a great painter, by the way. Bobby the Painter is a great painter.
I grew up with him.
Yeah. Him and his brother are absolutely fantastic painters.
Yes, they are.
My mother still can't believe I talked about the mouse in my house, by the way, because she thinks it's brought the value of the house down 50%, even though probably every house in all of Montreal has a mouse in the house at some point.
You know who you remind me of? Not that you are, because you are unique. I like following you on YouTube and I watch you practically every day. I look at my YouTube to see if you have anything new. You remind me a little bit of Ted Steven, a lot of Ted Steven.
Well, look, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna lie to you by telling you that there's a couple of things that I do that Ted used to do, but for me, and there were a lot of great sports radio hosts, and there's a couple of good ones left. But to me, Ted Steven was my favorite. That's the kind of radio I like, with the exception that, and God bless Ted, with the exception of I would have liked it if he would have talked a little bit more sports, because every now and then he'd go on these rants that would go on for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He would do a 3-hour show, and at sometimes, some shows, he'd probably talk sports for like 30 minutes out of 3 hours. But the way he could rile people up, some of his rants were legendary. The machine guns, which people have asked me to bring back nowadays, I just think in 2022, it's probably not a good idea to do that. But, I remember, Ted and, Miss LA and rubbing his temples and,
he was on.
Remember that famous hotel in room 321 with the whirlpool and that establishment that used to sell smoked meat and, remember his means of transportation, right? It was a famous taxi company, which we're not going to mention here, any of these people that he talked about, because they're not sponsoring. No. But look,
I used
for me,
to work for that smoke meat company, Tony.
Oh, wow.
My dad was a chef there.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
My uncles owned the franchise.
So listen, for me, that you say that I remind you of the late great Ted Steven, that's the biggest compliment that anyone could ever pay me. I'll tell you this.
Your own way. Sorry to interrupt you, but you are unique in your own way. You are fun to watch. You are fun to listen to. You're exciting.
Yeah.
You motivate people. You're motivated. You're really one of a kind in Montreal right now.
Thank
in
you.
French and in English.
Thank you. Listen, it's not, look, I just, ever since I was young, I just put my heart and soul into everything I do. Like 150% of my heart, 150% of my soul. When my shows are over and my collabs are over, I'm winded type of thing. I'm drained. I'm tired because I just try and put everything. And that's the message to my kids. I'm not perfect. My kids aren't perfect. But I tell them, find your passion.
Yeah.
And once you do, just put your entire heart and soul into it. And if you do, you're going to find success. And so far it's worked for me. And I hope, and I believe that we can still take this to another couple of levels. And I can still take my game to another couple of levels. So I turned 50 on November 23rd. And I still believe I got my best years ahead of me. Thank you. I really appreciate you saying what you said.
Sure. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. You sound like a gentleman. Thank you very much. Others coming in. If we had Kachuk, we wouldn't have Slav. That's true too. Patrizio says you need somebody like McGarity. Patrizio, I know that. I'm hoping that Agnello would turn into my McGarity, but I just go to him. Yeah. Canadians play good. Yeah. Well, what I'm going to tell you. Tony, you're the Caden Gooley of podcasts. Perfect so far. No, it's not perfect so far, folks. Listen, this is a new world going live on YouTube. It's a new world for me, even though we've been podcasting for 2 years. In the last 2 years that we were podcasting, the Sick Podcast, we were recording 3 podcasts a week on average. And at one point, we had a live one on Sunday mornings. And now we've decided to go live Monday to Friday, starting at 10 p.m. We got new equipment. We got a new 4K camera. We got a new mixer board. We have the abilities to connect via Bluetooth. We have the ability to take calls. So it's kind of like a new world for me. So, the first couple of weeks have been a little, I wouldn't say trial and error, but there's been some bumps in the road. But as we iron out all the everything out here, at one point this podcast is going to be it's going to be rock and roll. I'm convinced. All right, where are we going exactly? Do we have Rob in Hamilton? Rob, are you there? Rob.
Hey, how's it going, sir?
Very good. How are you?
Tony, I'm a big fan, man.
Thank you, Rob.
Honest to God, I can't believe I'm on this right now. How's it going today?
No. Don't be overwhelmed. Believe you me, I'm a regular guy. Trust me. I'm just like anybody else. As a matter of fact, Yvan in Quebec, who has been a listener for a very long time, reached out to me via Facebook Messenger, told me that he's going to be in town on Thursday, and asked if we can go out for lunch. And I said yes.
Okay.
So you know what? I'm a regular guy, Rob. And if you ever come to Montreal and you want to do lunch, I'm in.
Oh, you know what? What an honor, man. Thank you so much. That means a lot. So, yeah, I just wanted to say, I don't know. I guess Montreal won today. I know exactly why. It's because I bet against them. So yeah, that's why I lost them.
Yeah, that happens to me too, right? I go pretty good with my bets. I think I've had in my last 18 or so or something like that. I think I have in my last 18 predictions, I think I have 15 winners. All right. Something crazy. The second I bet, I lose. If I would bet on every one, even $1, I would do well. The second I do, I lose. I actually put $1 or $2 on a Montreal Canadiens preseason game, the one versus the Winnipeg Jets. I saw the Jets had pretty much nobody playing with the exception of Pierre-Luc Dubois. And, Connor Hellebuck wasn't playing either. Not only their players, but even their goalie. I said the Canadiens are going to smoke them. I think Winnipeg tied up the game with a couple of minutes left, and I think they scored the winner with 20 or 30 seconds left or whatever it was. Yeah, that didn't go too well. Thanks for your call, man. I appreciate it. There you have it. Rob from Hamilton, who knew the Canadiens were going to win because he bet against them. And he just doesn't usually end up having that much success. All right. Others coming in. Let's get to some messages. Agnello, pop up some messages there. Tony, peux-tu dire bonjour à mon père, Tony Bertoni, please? He's my father, and we both love you. He introduced me to your shows. So, to Tony Bertoni, Signor Bertoni, ciao, come stai? Un saluto da me, Tony Marinaro. Monsieur Tony Bertoni, bonsoir, comment ça va, mon ami? Chanceux d'avoir un fils comme toi, comme ton fils, là. Et lui est chanceux d'avoir un père comme toi. Mr. Bertoni, how are you? This way, we did it in 3 languages, you see. I don't know if he was English, French, or Italian, so we got it out of the way. No problem at all. My pleasure to give shout-outs. I don't charge for those, by the way. Some people do. I just, up until this point, I do not. I don't judge. I just, up until this point, I do not. Maybe one day I will. Who knows? Right now, no. Tony, do we need to draft a high-end goalie as soon as possible? Okay. If you take a look at teams that have gone to the Stanley Cup final in the last 15 or 20 years, I don't think you have to have a high-end goalie. And if you're going to tell me that Vasilevsky was a great goalie and he won 2 Stanley Cups, you're right. But I'm going to tell you that many average goaltenders won the cup or made it to the final. So I don't think you have to. Obviously, if you have one, it's good. If you don't have one, it's pas fin du monde. It's not the end of the world. Anthony from Montreal. Anthony. Anthony, are you there? Hello?
Tony.
Is it me you're looking for?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much. Do we know each other? Because, you're talking to me like you're my very best friend in the world. And maybe you are, by the way.
I've been a big fan. I've been following you for a couple of years now, so it's always exciting.
Thank you. Whereabouts in Montreal are you exactly?
I'm in the East End, man.
You're in the East End, man. East End would be St. Leonard or RDP?
One of the two is correct. I'll leave it up to you if you want to take a guess, though.
Okay. Do you usually say all kinds, bro?
On certain days, yeah.
On certain days. Well, if you say it often, you're from RDP. If you don't say it often, you're from St. Leonard.
Man, you're very good at what you do, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, I'm wondering why all the calls that have come in so far since we started have been from male callers, because I had many listeners that were females.
I don't know.
I'm wondering. I'm throwing it out there. If anyone's shy, don't be shy. This show is for everyone. Males, female, the older, the younger, the elderly. This is for everyone, this show. Go ahead, Anthony. Anthony, what's on your mind?
Question. So, Drouin, with his new number change.
Yeah.
Do we see a future for him? I don't know. That pass tonight to Caulfield back door was flashes from when he was playing in Halifax.
You're right. Now, what do we mean by future? So let's just say his contract is up at the end of the year. He'd want to renew. He has a great season, and he wants to renew for 1 year. Yes, I could see that happening. He has a great season or an average season or a not so great season, and he wants to renew for 4 or 5 years, the way he signed a 5-year deal when he got here. Actually, he signed a 6-year deal when he got here for $33 million. That I don't see happening. So chances are free agents, they like to sign long-term deals, right? They don't sign 1-year deals. Yeah. So something incredible is going to have to happen for Jonathan Drouin to be here for an extended period of time. Something incredible has to happen.
What are you thinking? A 2-year deal or what?
Look, usually free agents don't sign for 2 years. But at the same time, do you see any team offering Jonathan more than 2 years?
Look, I mean, if he has a good season, you know, he was playing very well in Tampa Bay. He came to Montreal. Maybe the market was too rough for him, but you can't really take away that on many nights, he's definitely one of the better skilled players on the ice. Can he finish? No. Has he been finishing? No. But you can't take away his talent. You know, the guy's there. It's just something's not clicking in Montreal for him.
Look, you know what? Maybe if he has a great season, he takes a little bit of a pay cut, signs for a couple of million, signs for 2 years. I just, right now, he's got, you know, even the French members of the media are saying that, you know, they're hard on him right now. They're hard on him. It's tough.
Do you blame them?
I hope, no, well, listen, he hasn't delivered up until now. I really hope that it works out for him because, you know, his problems with anxiety over the last couple of years have been well documented. And I would imagine it's very, very difficult living with that. And so I'm pulling for him, to tell you the truth. But I think it's going to be difficult for him to extend his time here with Montreal. But I mean, I hope he can do it. I hope he can do it. You know, the most beautiful thing is when people don't believe that you can deliver the merchandise, and you do. It is so
he's gonna do it, man.
Rewarding.
The last person scored at 27 was good for us. So I think the New Jersey change, like it's kind of like a fresh scenery, or maybe that little jersey change can bring him further, and maybe it could be good for us.
Appreciate taking the time. Thanks so much. Tell your friends about the Sick Podcast. It's pretty sick, like the host.
Yeah,
one team, one dream. Thank you very much, Anthony. Sound like a good guy to me. Roy Anderson says Drouin is a headache. Fisherman says can't stand watching him play. Habination says if Drouin signed for 5 times 2, fans would absolutely love him. Angelo Zaviro says I think Jonathan Drouin and Wright look alike. Chris L'Esperance says sick. Clapper says Drouin is better than Hoffman. And Fisherman says Hoffman should be a healthy scratch. Arthur says Tony is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Man, that's pretty cool. Others coming in. This one coming in from Lucana says, you replace Ron Fournier for me, Tony. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Pacioretti, 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 spaghetti, ravioli, tortellini, pacioretti. Hey, Ron, come on, ça va? Puppy, 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 puppy. There you have it. There's my Ron Fournier in impersonation. Gooley and Harris are impressing so far. Happy with Monahan. Go Habs, go. This coming in from Ben Johnston and not Ben Johnson. Sickety sickest of the sick podcasts. This coming in from Stefano Nudo, and Angelo Zaviro says, sick. Thank you very much. Tony is working overtime tonight. Let's go. Yeah, why not? Why are we not talking about Dadonov? He's been horrible. Tonight, I thought he had a little bit more jump playing on a line with Dvorak and Gallagher, but at the end of the day, a guy like Dadonov, what he brings to the team is going to be measured by production. He's going to have to score goals. He did the little dipsy doodle spinorama on Christopher Letang, but once again, that guy needs to produce. We're going to take another call here or what? What are we doing here? It's a sick podcast, of course. I don't have to say that because podcasts are different than radio, and you already know that by now, but I kind of changed the way I'm doing the show, right? I want it to sound like a radio show, look like a TV show. So this podcast is basically a hybrid. That's what it is. And, of course, the show is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, 8.6 beer, intense by nature, and La Cage. So there you have it. Bring up some more messages, or let's take some calls. The Canadiens beat the Pittsburgh Penguins by a score of 3-2 in overtime. On Nick Suzuki, narrowing Pittsburgh's 2-0 lead to 2-1 in minute 10 into period number 3 with 2:20 left in regulation. It was Cole Caulfield on a one-timer and a pass by Jonathan Drouin, tying it at 2. Caden Gooley had 2 assists up until that point. And then they go to overtime, and Jeff Petrie picks up a penalty for cross-checking Jordan Harris, his third of the game, and it goes from Suzuki to Monahan to Doc. Kirby Doc scores, first star of the game, Caden Gooley second. The Canadiens win in overtime by a score of 3-2. Tony, when do you think the Habs will get Cole Caulfield signed? I would have did it by now. I would have done it by now, and Cole Caulfield's going to score a lot of goals this year. And each and every goal that he's going to score, Kent Hughes is going to wish that he would have signed them already. Now, once again, he's a smarter guy than I am, so obviously there's got to be some reason why he didn't, but I would have signed them by now. As a matter of fact, I'd call him into my office tomorrow, and his agent, I get on a conference call. I'd want to have Cole in front of me. I'd want to have the agent on the line and say, guys, let's go. Let's get this done. What's it going to take? Let's go. Let's get it done. And speaking of getting it done, do I end it now? I don't have to give the time, but we are, what are we? We're an hour 25 into the podcast. Actually, an hour 27:39, I believe it is. Same contract as Suzuki. Centermen usually hold more value, right? So they usually have a better deal. Unless, of course, you're Alex Ovechkin. You score like 50 goals a year for like 10 years in a row or whatever it is. Not 10 years in a row because I think Bossy still holds that record. But Kirby Doc is just heating up. A lot more to come. This coming from Armada. Tony, so far as a team has been what you expected. Their play, actually even better. From 50 Ferrari, hey, Tony, do you think Caulfield will get more than Suzuki or same contract? I think he's going to get less. I don't think he's going to get more. Tony, do you think Wilfred Nancy will sign in Europe? Oh, we're talking CF Montreal now. Wilfred Nancy has an option on his contract, which means he's welcome to come back next year. I will say this. My gut tells me I don't know when he'll leave, if he leaves in the offseason, if he stays, if he exercises the option. My gut tells me, though, that the season is over. It's the playoffs. Not next season, the season after. CF Montreal will have a new coach by then. I don't know the way it's going to go down, but look, he's done a fantastic job. He's done a fantastic job. And I hate to pat myself on the back, but I don't hate patting myself on the back. I actually enjoy doing it. I don't even know why I said I hate patting myself on the back. I actually enjoy it. when members of the media early on in the season were getting mad at the team for trying to play out of the back and it would lead to some turnovers and some giveaways and the other team would score, I said, patience. It's a process. He's developing a game philosophy, an identity, principles of play, and they're going to get burned in the short term for a few goals against, but it's going to end up working out in the long term. And he's done a better job of coaching in the MLS than anyone else has. Once again, in case you missed it, CF Montreal are pretty much a sellout for Sunday. It will be a sellout if it isn't already 100%. There was only a handful of tickets left earlier today when they went on sale at noon. And now tonight we found out who their opponent is. It's New York City FC, who beat Inter Miami by a score of 3-0. So the defending champs visit Stade Saputo on Sunday afternoon at 1 p.m. with Tony Marinaro in the press box watching. And it looks like the long-range weather forecast looks like it's going to be like 18 degrees in Montreal or whatever it is. Man, that's going to be a really nice day. It's going to be a sick weekend. It'll be a sick game. Tonight was a sick game. The Canadiens will do this all over again on Thursday night when they host the Arizona Coyotes, who tonight went to Toronto and beat the Toronto Maple Leafs by a score of 4-2. The Canadiens are off for the next couple of days. They'll actually be practicing, but I'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place, 10 p.m. It's the Sick Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at the Sick Podcast. Tell your friends about it because this podcast is sick. And Nelson, who owns a travel agency, who showed up to La Cage about a month ago, who said he drove an hour and a half to meet me. He says, Tony, I love it when you do something in particular and you end your show that way. So for Nelson, you wanted it. You got it. You ready? I'm Marinaro. Go Habs, go. Talk to you tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different, 8.6, intense by nature, and La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.